On a sunny day in the city of Rome, Paul sat with his parchment and quill. He was writing a letter to one of his most trusted helpers, a man named Titus. Paul and Titus had traveled together many times, sharing stories of hope. Now, Titus was far away on the big, rugged island of Crete. Paul wanted to send him a message that would help him be a strong and wise leader for the people there. On the island of Crete, the wind blew through the olive trees. Titus stood on a hill, looking down at the busy towns. Paul's letter arrived, telling Titus that he had a very important job, to set things in order. The island was full of life, but it was also full of people who were confused about how to live good lives. Titus knew he had to be brave to help them find the right path. Paul wrote that Titus should find leaders to help him. These leaders, called elders, needed to be people who were honest, kind, and loved what is good. Titus met with a wise man named Ariston to talk about these qualities. Paul explained that a leader shouldn't be quick-tempered or selfish. Instead, they should be like a steady anchor in a storm, holding on to the truth and helping others do the same. Not everyone on the island wanted to listen. Paul warned Titus that some people were being dishonest and causing trouble. He told Titus to be firm and speak the truth clearly. Titus had to stand his ground, like a lighthouse standing tall against the waves. He realized that being a leader meant being strong enough to say no to things that were wrong and yes to things that were right. Paul's letter also gave advice for everyone in the community. He told Titus to teach the older men and women to be good examples. Titus visited a kind woman named Alora. They talked about how the older women could teach the younger women to be loving and wise. Paul wanted every home to be a place of peace, where family members looked out for one another and shared God's kindness. Next, Titus focused on the young men. Paul told him to encourage them to be self-controlled. Titus spent time with a young man named Nikos, showing him how to be a hard worker. Paul wrote that Titus should be a pattern of good works himself. By watching Titus, Nikos learned that being a man of God meant being humble, honest, and always ready to help someone in need. Why was it so important to live this way? Titus explained to Nikos that it was because of God's grace. Paul's letter said that God's kindness had appeared to everyone, teaching us to live godly lives while we wait for the wonderful day when Jesus returns. Titus and Nikos spent their afternoon carrying heavy baskets of fruit to a neighbor who was sick, showing that God's love wasn't just words, it was action. Paul also reminded Titus that they should be good citizens. He told Titus to teach the people to respect the leaders of the land and to be ready for every good work. One morning, Titus stopped to help a Roman guard whose chariot wheel was stuck in the mud. By being helpful and gentle to everyone, even those in power, Titus showed that followers of God are the best kind of neighbors. The most beautiful part of the letter spoke about God's mercy. Paul wrote that God saved us, not because of the good things we did, but because of his great love. He called it the washing of rebirth. Titus sat by the sparkling blue sea, thinking about how God makes our hearts new and clean, just like the water washes the shore. He felt a deep peace knowing he was part of God's family. At the end of the letter, Paul asked Titus to meet him in a city called Nicopolis. A messenger named Artemas arrived with the news. Paul also asked Titus to help their friends Zenas and Apollos on their journey. Titus packed his bags, ready for his next adventure. He knew that whether he was in Crete or Nicopolis, his mission was the same: to live a life full of good works and to share the light of God's truth.